Hello, my technical compadres. Welcome to Engineer's Daily Carry. Today I got a review for you and a unboxing recreation of the Civivi Elementum in the brass handle variant. One with a Stonewash blade and one with the black blade. It's currently July 1st, 2020. And like many, got in on the most recent restock across a number of sites of the Elementums. I've had one Civivi to date in the form of the Rustic Gent, and heard good things about the Elementum, wanted to try it out. Couldn't decide between the two blade variants, so went with one of each. It's a unboxing recreation because I've had them open already and package them back up. I was a little disappointed, and we'll get to that with what I found upon opening them. So this is the Stonewash blade variant here. Has good action, substantially heavier than I had anticipated just from the specs. I knew it was going to be heavy with the brass handle scales, but in hand feels even heavier than I was anticipating. But do like the Stonewash blade here. And as you can see with this one coming out of the box, blade centering's maybe just a touch off to the show side. If I can get that on camera or not. Maybe just a touch off to the show side, but it's within what you would expect for a $50 or $60 knife. So no major complaints with this one. Detent's good. As you can see, fires reliably, and was pleased with this one. Liked the way it looked. Then I opened the black blade variant here. Maybe trying to stay underneath the sticker there. And with the black blade variant, let's see, I similarly packaged it back up. Comes with all the usual Civivi inclusions. You can see with this one that the blade centering is much more substantially off. It's very close, hard to get on camera, very close to rubbing on the show side. Again, not shocking for a $60 knife, but relative to everything that's been said about these and how reliable Civivi is on their manufacturing and the blade centering, was very disappointed to see with this one especially how far off it was. And then you just saw there, the other issue I'm having with this one is it has very light detent. See, it's just misfire there. If I hit it just right and you hit it hard, you can get it to open. But if you don't, just like that, if you don't, it's not going to engage all the way. I do like the looks on this one too, with the black blade and the stonewashed brass there. My intention is to polish the brass and sand off, and then polish out so that they shine a little bit versus this dull appearance. I'm not a big fan of the dull look. I think it's very hard to tell it's brass, and so then you're carrying all this weight for nothing. Keep talking about the weight, I'll throw it on the scale here quick, and we can see just what I'm talking about. So getting very accustomed to the sub 2.5 ounce blades with my everyday carry, and we can see here this one rings the register at over 4.5 ounces. So it's like carrying a couple of the mini bug outs in your pocket at the same time, which is not anything to do with the knife manufacturer. It's a product of these very heavy handle scales that are on there, right? So thought it was interesting again with this detent on this one. Thought it was interesting here. I tried to tune the action on it a little bit, thinking I could work out whatever the issue was with this detent and clean it up and get it fixed. And then as I started to take it apart, the handle scales actually have like a bow to them. I'll kind of pull in here, frame here, we'll take this one down, and you can see what I'm talking about. So I think we're looking at, I don't remember offhand, T6 or T8. It was a T8. Yes, yes. Here's my T8. So I tried to loosen the back spacer screws here a little bit to give the scales some room to breathe, thinking I could, I've had knives before that the blade centering is a little bit off, and you relieve some of the stress in it by kind of loosening everything up and putting it back together. It corrects the blade centering. But what I found here, now you see what I'm talking about. You see how that scale's pulling away from the pivot there? Probably be more pronounced if I tighten back up the back here. So I'm wondering if that's not part of what the issue is. There's this gap opening up here between the brass scale and the, you know, whatever that is there, the painted steel liners. But if I tighten the back spacer, screws back up here. And continue to open the pivot up here, you can see more and more what I'm talking about, hopefully. See there? It's a good angle of it. So it's got to pull all this, it's kind of, the scale kind of curves out from the liners. I don't know if there's a issue relative to these scales, but I'm thinking that's part of what's impacting the detent on this, is that when you have to tighten up the pivot, you know, before you're actually closing the liners together and locking the pivot in, you're actually having to pull up with a reasonable amount of torque here, that handle scale, to get it drawn back tight against the liners. And then once it's against the liners, now you're trying to, you know, tune in what you need from a pivot tension there. So that's kind of what I was looking at here. I again was pretty disappointed with what I have here on the, at least with the black blade variant. You can see how light the detent is. There's definitely a detent there. It won't fall open just from shaking it, but you can rather effortlessly pull it open, and it just leads to that unreliable deployment. Again, I'm thinking it's a one-off issue. Back to the Stonewash variant here. I haven't not seen the same thing here. Seeing the blade centering just a touch off on this one. Not nearly as bad as the black blade variant, but it is just a little bit off. But at least the detent on this one's more dialed in to where it's more reliably deploying. This one here you got really hit just right to get deployment out. But there they are. You got the, again, brass on both handle materials. They look a little different in the light here, but brass on both handles. One in the black blade variant, one in the Stonewash. And my experience there, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so don't think this one's long for me. May go back to Civivi to see if they can do something about it. It may just move down the road at a discount relative to what I purchased it at. Just like things to really be the best they can be, and just that action on this one and the centering just don't do it for me. I think this one here is the one I'm going to, as I mentioned, try to polish up those handle scales on and really, you know, draw out the brass and let it complement some of the other brass EDC gear I have, and we'll see what that looks like, and if I like it, it might stay around. So thanks for tuning in, and if you are interested in seeing more videos, this is the first one I'm putting out under the channel, but go ahead and subscribe and like the video, and I'll bring more knife reviews. Thanks, have a good one.